Brielle had no idea she was about to tell the most powerful man in the realm to find somewhere else to sit. The honeyed Crescent Café was her sanctuary. 3 years she had worked here, memorizing orders before customers spoke them, learning which regulars needed silence and which craved small talk, building something stable in a world that had given her nothing but uncertainty. The corner table by the rain-streaked window belonged to Lord Ashworth every Tuesday at 4. The velvet booth near the fire was eternally claimed by the Dowager Countess Verne, and Table 7, the intimate two-seater tucked beneath the spiral staircase with its perfect view of both the door and the garden, that one was reserved for the Duke of Marin. Who was running late? The stranger who had just walked in clearly did not care. Brielle watched him cross the threshold and felt something shift in the air itself. He was tall, impossibly so, with shoulders that seemed designed to block out light and dark hair that fell in careless waves across a forehead, furrowed with what looked like permanent contemplation. His clothes were simple, too simple for the wealth that radiated from his bearing like heat from a forge. A traveling cloak, the color of midnight. Boots worn from actual use. No signet rings, no house colors, nothing to announce who he was. But the way he moved announced plenty. He walked like the floor belonged to him. Like the walls might choose to rearrange themselves if he found them inconvenient. He scanned the cafe with eyes the color of aged whiskey, and something in Brielle's chest pulled tight when that gaze swept over her, and then, inexplicably, returned. Held. She forgot to breathe. Then he walked directly toward Table 7 and pulled out the chair. No. Brielle's feet were moving before her mind caught up. She wove between tables with the practiced grace of someone who had balanced too many trays to ever trip over her own urgency, and she reached him just as his hand touched the menu. "I'm sorry, sir." Her voice came out steadier than expected. "This table's reserved." He looked up at her. The full force of his attention was like standing too close to a bonfire. His eyes weren't just amber, she realized. They held flecks of gold that caught the candlelight and threw it back like a challenge. There were shadows beneath those eyes, the kind that spoke of sleepless nights and burdens carried alone. A thin scar traced from his left temple to the edge of his jaw, silver against sun-weathered skin. He was not handsome in the way the young lords who frequented this place were handsome. He was something older, something that had been forged rather than sculpted. His mouth curved, not quite a smile. Reserved for whom? The Duke of Marin. He sits here every Tuesday and Thursday. He'll be arriving any moment. Will he? The stranger leaned back in the chair he had no right to occupy. I rather doubt that. Brielle's hands found her hips before she could stop them. Sir, I don't know who you are, or where you've come from. But in this establishment, we honor our reservations. There are plenty of other tables available. The one by the front window has a lovely light. And the booth near the kitchens is quite private if you prefer. I don't. Excuse me? He closed the menu with a soft sound that somehow carried more weight than a slammed door. Those golden eyes found hers again, and Brielle felt her pulse trip over itself. This table, he said quietly. So am I. The words didn't make sense. She opened her mouth to tell him exactly that, but something in his expression stopped her. There was no arrogance there, she realized. No cruelty. Just a bone-deep weariness wrapped in certainty. Reserved for what? She heard herself ask. For you, apparently. He gestured to the chair across from him. Sit with me. I'm working. Take a break. I can't just... Brielle glanced toward the kitchen, where Mistress Thornwood was undoubtedly watching this entire exchange with her sharp eyes and sharper tongue. Sir, please, I don't want any trouble. The Duke is a regular customer, and if he arrives to find his table occupied... Marcus Ashford is not coming today. The stranger said the Duke's name like he knew it intimately. He received word this morning that his presence is required at the capital. Something about a summons he couldn't refuse. Brielle stared at him. How could you possibly know that? Because I'm the one who summoned him. The words landed like stones in still water. Ripples spread through Brielle's understanding, rearranging everything she thought she knew about this moment. This man, this ordinary Tuesday that was rapidly becoming anything but. "Who are you?" she whispered. He studied her for a long moment. Something flickered in those golden depths. Something that looked almost like hunger, though not the kind she was used to seeing from men who thought a serving girl was there for their taking. This was different. This was a man looking at her like she was a question he had been waiting his whole life to answer. "My name is Theron," he said finally, "and I think you should sit down before I tell you the rest." Before we continue, please take 2 seconds to like this video. It tells me you want more stories like this. Brielle did not sit down. She was not in the habit of obeying orders from strange men, no matter how compelling their eyes or how unsettling the warmth that spread through her chest when he spoke her name. Wait, she hadn't told him her name. "How do you know who I am?" Theron's expression didn't change, but something shifted behind his eyes. A calculation. A decision being made in real time. "Sit down, Brielle, and I'll explain. Tell me how you know my name first." "You're wearing it." He nodded toward her chest. She looked down. The small brass nameplate pinned to her apron glinted up at her, engraved letters spelling out the name she had given herself 3 years ago when she'd arrived in this city with nothing but the clothes on her back and a desperate need to disappear. Heat flooded her cheeks. Of course, the nameplate. She was an idiot. But when she looked back up, Theron was watching her with an intensity that suggested the nameplate was not, in fact, how he had known. "Please," he said, and the word sounded foreign on his tongue, like he didn't use it often. "I've been traveling for 6 days. I'm tired. I'm hungry. And I came to this specific cafe, at this specific time, because I was told I would find someone here who could help me with a problem I've been unable to solve alone. I'm a serving girl. I bring people tea and scones. I don't solve problems." "You're more than that." He said it like a fact, like he was reading it from a book only he could see. "You're the woman who convinced Lord Ashworth to fund the new orphanage by casually mentioning, over his 3rd cup of Earl Grey, that his late wife had always dreamed of helping children. You're the one who talked the dowager out of disinheriting her grandson by reminding her that regret is a bitter companion in one's final years. You see people. You understand what they need before they know it themselves. And right now," his voice dropped, rough and raw. "Right now, I need to be seen by someone who isn't afraid to tell me the truth." Brielle's heart was hammering against her ribs. How did he know those things? She had been so careful, so quiet. She never took credit, never drew attention. She just noticed things, helped where she could, kept her head down and survived. "Who told you about me?" "Someone who cares about you very much. Someone who's been watching over you from afar and decided it was time to intervene." The blood drained from Brielle's face. No, it wasn't possible. She had been so careful. She had changed her name, cut her hair, learned to walk differently, talk differently. She had buried Serafina Voss so deep that even she had almost forgotten that girl had ever existed. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, but her voice cracked on the lie. Theron stood, slowly, deliberately, giving her every chance to run. He was even taller than she'd realized, and standing this close, she could smell him. Pine and wood smoke, and something darker underneath. Something that made her wolf stir for the first time in 3 years. No, she had suppressed that part of herself, locked it away. She was human here. Normal. Safe. "I'm not here to hurt you," Theron said softly. "I'm here because your mother asked me to find you." "My mother is dead." "Your stepmother, then. The woman who raised you after." His jaw tightened. "The woman who has spent 3 years letting the realm believe you perished in that fire while secretly searching for any trace of where you might have run." Brielle's vision blurred. She would not cry. She had not cried since the night she fled her father's manor with flames licking at her heels and her stepbrother's laughter echoing in her ears. She had not cried when she realized she was truly alone, or when she'd slept in alleys and eaten scraps, or when she'd finally found work here and allowed herself to hope that maybe she could have a life. "Marin," she breathed. "Lady Marin. She's been looking for me?" She never stopped. Theron reached into his cloak and withdrew a letter. Its seal unmistakable. The silver crescent moon of House Marin. The woman who had married Brielle's father and treated his daughter like her own, even when Brielle's blood relatives made that kindness dangerous. "She can't come to you herself," Theron continued. "Your stepbrother controls the manor now. He watches her every move. But she found a way to get word to someone she trusted. Someone with the power to search every corner of this realm without raising suspicion. And that someone is you?" Theron's mouth curved again. This time, it almost reached his eyes. "I have certain resources." "Who are you?" Brielle asked again, but this time the question carried different weight. This time she was asking about more than a name. He extended the letter toward her. "Read this first. Then I'll answer anything you want to know." Her fingers trembled as she took the parchment. She shouldn't open it here, in the middle of her workplace, with customers glancing over and Mistress Thornwood's gaze burning holes in her back. But she couldn't stop herself. The seal cracked beneath her thumb, and Lady Marin's elegant handwriting swam before her eyes. "My dearest girl, if you are reading this, then he found you. Thank the gods. I have prayed every night for 3 years that you survived, that you were somewhere safe, somewhere beyond your stepbrother's reach. I know you cannot come home. I know what Dominic did, what he tried to do, and I know you had no choice but to run. I do not blame you for leaving without word. I only blame myself for not protecting you better. The man who carries this letter is someone I trust with my life. More importantly, I trust him with yours. He is not what he appears to be, but then again, neither are you. Listen to him, Brielle. Let him help you. There are things happening in this realm that will affect you whether you hide from them or not, and I would rather you face them with a protector at your side than alone in the shadows. I love you. I have always loved you. And one day, when it is safe, I will hold you again. Until then, trust Theron. He has more reason to keep you safe than you know. All my love." Helena Brielle read the letter twice, 3 times. The words blurred and reformed and still didn't make sense. "Why?" she finally managed. "Why would a stranger go to such lengths for me?" Theron had been watching her read. His expression was carefully neutral, but something burned beneath the surface, something barely contained. "Because you're not just anyone," he said quietly. "You're the daughter of Lord Voss and Lady Seraphina of the Eastern Highlands, the last legitimate heir to one of the oldest wolf bloodlines in the realm. And 3 years ago, on the night of your 19th birthday, your stepbrother tried to force a mating bond on you to claim your inheritance." The memories crashed over her like ice water. Dominic's hands on her arms, his breath hot against her neck. The way her wolf had surged up with a violence she'd never felt before, claws erupting from her fingertips as she'd slashed at his face and fled into the burning remnants of her childhood home. She'd thought she escaped unnoticed. She'd thought no one knew what really happened that night. "He told everyone you attacked him unprovoked," Theron continued, his voice hardening. "Claimed you were feral, unstable, that you set the fire yourself in a fit of madness. The realm mourned the tragic loss of the Voss daughter while Dominic consolidated power, and your stepmother was confined to the manor for her own safety." "Why are you telling me this?" Brielle's voice came out broken. "I know what he did. I've spent 3 years trying to forget." "Because he's looking for you now." Theron's golden eyes locked onto hers with an intensity that stole her breath. "Word has spread that a young woman matching your description has been seen in the city. He's sent hunters. They're already here, Brielle. They arrived 2 days ago, and they've been systematically visiting every establishment in the district, asking questions, showing your portrait. The floor tilted beneath her feet. Theron moved fast, his hand catching her elbow before she could stumble. His touch was warm through the thin fabric of her sleeve, warmer than it should have been. And the moment his skin contacted hers, something happened. A sound. Deep inside her chest, in the place where her wolf had slumbered for 3 years, something stirred. Something stretched awake with a rumble that resonated through her entire being. Mate. No. No, no, no. She yanked her arm back. Theron let her go immediately, but his eyes had changed. The gold was brighter now, almost luminous. His chest rose and fell with carefully controlled breaths. He'd felt it too. "What are you?" Brielle whispered. Theron was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was rough. "The hunters your stepbrother sent are members of the Blood Fang Pack. They're vicious, ruthless, and completely loyal to Dominic because he's promised them something valuable in return for delivering you to him." What did he promise them? An alliance with the crown. Theron's jaw tightened. "Your stepbrother has been positioning himself for years, building alliances, eliminating rivals, spreading his influence. He believes that if he can claim you, he can use your bloodline to legitimize his bid for the throne." "The throne?" Brielle shook her head. "That's insane. King Aldrich rules the realm. He has for 30 years. King Aldrich died 6 months ago." The world stopped. Brielle stared at him. King Aldrich? Dead? The man who had ruled since before she was born, whose reign had been marked by peace and prosperity, whose name was invoked in prayers and curses alike? She hadn't heard any news of this, but then again, she had deliberately avoided anything that might connect her to her former life. She didn't attend gatherings. She didn't read the broadsheets. She served tea and kept her head down and survived. "His son took the throne," Theron continued. "But the transition has been complicated. There are those who question the new king's right to rule. Those who whisper that he's too young, too untested, too detached from the needs of his people." "What does any of this have to do with me?" Theron took a breath. "Your mother, your birth mother, was King Aldrich's younger sister. The princess who gave up her title to marry for love. The princess whose daughter would have a claim to the throne if anyone ever discovered the truth." The floor disappeared entirely. Brielle grabbed the back of the chair to steady herself. Royal blood. She had royal blood. Her mother, the gentlewoman who had died giving birth to her, the woman whose portrait hung in the burned remains of her childhood room, had been a princess. "No one knew," she managed. "My father never." "He knew. He kept it secret to protect you, and it worked. For 19 years, you were just the Voss heiress. Valuable, yes, but not dangerous." Theron's voice softened. "But your stepbrother found the documents after your father's death. He knows exactly what you are. That's why he tried to force the bond. With you as his mate, he could claim not just the Voss holdings but a path to the throne itself." "And the new king?" Brielle's voice was barely a whisper. "Does he know about me?" Theron was quiet for so long that she thought he wouldn't answer. When he finally spoke, each word seemed to cost him something. "The new king has known about you for 3 years. He has spent those years searching for you, protecting you from afar, making sure Dominic's hunters never got too close. He bribed officials, redirected investigations, quietly eliminated anyone who came near the truth." He paused. "Until 2 days ago, when the Blood Fang Pack arrived in this city through a route he hadn't anticipated." Brielle's heart was pounding so hard she could hear it. Why? Why would the king go to such lengths for someone he's never met? Theron looked at her. Really looked at her. And in his golden eyes she saw the answer before he spoke it. "Because the moment he learned you existed, something inside him recognized you. Because he spent 6 months as king wondering why the throne felt empty when he sat on it. Why every political match his advisors suggested made his wolf snarl with rejection. Because 3 weeks ago, He finally admitted to himself that he couldn't rule, couldn't breathe, couldn't exist for one more day without finding the woman his soul had claimed before they'd ever met. Brielle couldn't move, couldn't speak. The stranger standing before her, the man who had walked into her cafe and refused to leave, the man whose touch had awakened something she'd spent 3 years trying to bury. "You're the king," she said. Theron closed his eyes. When he opened them again, the weariness she'd glimpsed earlier had surfaced fully. The weight of a crown he'd never wanted pressing down on shoulders that had been carrying it alone. "My name is Theron Aldrich Ashford III," he said quietly. "I was crowned 6 months ago in a ceremony I don't remember because I spent the entire time thinking about a girl with moonlight hair and wolf's eyes who had vanished into smoke and flame. I have spent every day since then trying to be a king worth following while searching for you with every resource at my disposal. And now that I've found you," he exhaled. "Now I'm standing in a cafe, telling a woman who makes the best lavender tea in the realm that her life is in danger. And all I can think about is how badly I want to hear her say my name." The cafe had gone quiet around them. Customers were staring. Mistress Thornwood had emerged from the kitchen with an expression that promised a severe conversation later. None of it mattered. Brielle looked at this man, this king, this stranger who was somehow not a stranger at all. She felt the pull between them, the bond trying to snap into place, her wolf howling with recognition after 3 years of silence. She should run. She should deny everything and disappear again, and find a new city, a new name, a new life. She was good at running. It was the only thing that had kept her alive. But she was so tired of running. "Theron," she said softly. His whole body went still. Something flickered across his face. Hope, hunger, disbelief, and his eyes blazed gold in the dim light of the cafe. "Say it again." "Theron." His name felt right in her mouth, like a key turning in a lock, like coming home to a place she'd never been. "I think you should tell me about these hunters who are looking for me, and then I think we should figure out what to do about my stepbrother." The smile that spread across his face transformed him entirely. The weariness remained, but beneath it now was something fierce, something joyful, something that made her wolf rise up and sing. "Finally," he breathed, "a woman who doesn't want to talk about wedding arrangements first." Despite everything, the danger, the revelations, the complete upheaval of the life she'd built, Brielle felt her mouth curve in response. "I haven't agreed to marry you. Yet." Theron pulled out the chair he'd originally tried to claim. "Sit with me, Brielle. Let me tell you about the hunters. Let me tell you about the realm you were born to help rule. And then, when you know everything, you can decide what happens next." "I have conditions." "Name them." "I'm not leaving until the end of my shift. I have responsibilities here." Something softened in his expression. "Done. And you're paying for your own tea. I don't care if you're the king. We don't give freebies to customers who ignore our reservation system." Theron laughed. The sound was rusty, like he didn't do it often, and it wrapped around Brielle's heart and squeezed. "Done," he said again. "Anything else?" She held his gaze. "You should know that I'm not the same girl who fled that manor 3 years ago. I'm not a princess or an heiress or a pawn in someone's political game. I'm a serving girl who's very good at remembering tea orders and surviving impossible situations. If you're looking for someone to sit quietly beside you and look pretty while you rule, you found the wrong woman." Theron's eyes burned. "I'm looking for a partner, someone who sees people, someone who speaks truth even when it's inconvenient, someone who looked at the king of the realm and told him to find another table." He leaned closer, and his voice dropped to a rough whisper. "I found exactly the right woman. I just have to convince her of that." Brielle sat down. Across from her, Theron's smile was like sunrise after a long night. "Now," she said, reaching for the menu he'd abandoned, "tell me about these hunters, and order something. Mistress Thornwood is watching, and if you don't spend money, she's going to ban you for life, king or not." The hunters came that night. Brielle was closing up the cafe when she heard them. Heavy footsteps, the scrape of claws against cobblestone, the low, rumbling growl that marked a wolf on the hunt. Theron had left hours ago, but not before making arrangements. Royal guards in plain clothes stationed at both ends of the street, a carriage waiting in the alley behind the kitchen. A promise that she would not face whatever came alone. She hadn't believed him entirely. 3 years of surviving on her own had taught her that promises were just words, and words couldn't stop claws. But when the front door of the cafe exploded inward and 3 massive wolves poured through, Theron was already there. He moved like liquid shadow, placing himself between her and the hunters with a grace that shouldn't have been possible for a man his size. His wolf was just beneath the surface now, gold bleeding into his eyes, his voice carrying the unmistakable resonance of an alpha command when he spoke. "You're in my territory." The lead hunter shifted, bones cracking and reforming until a scarred man crouched where the wolf had been. "King Theron, what an unexpected pleasure. Leave now and I'll let you live. We have a contract." The hunter's eyes found Brielle behind Theron's shoulder. "The girl comes with us." "The girl," Theron said softly, "is under my protection. She's also my mate, which means any attempt to touch her is an act of war against the crown." Brielle's breath caught. He hadn't asked her. They hadn't discussed it. But the words rang with truth, and her wolf rose up in fierce agreement. "Mine," something inside her whispered. "He's mine." The hunter's expression flickered. Uncertainty, quickly masked. "Dominic Voss won't accept." Dominic Voss is a traitor who attempted to force a bond on an unwilling woman and conspired to claim the throne through deception. Theron's voice never rose, but it carried the weight of mountains. "His crimes have been documented. His allies are being detained as we speak, and by morning, his name will be synonymous with disgrace throughout the realm." He took a step forward, and the hunters flinched back. "You have a choice. Kneel now and pledge your loyalty to the crown, or face execution for conspiracy against your king." The gold in his eyes blazed. "Choose quickly. I'm not feeling patient." The hunters looked at each other, at Theron, at Brielle, who had moved to stand beside her mate with her chin raised and her wolf burning in her eyes. One by one, they knelt. Later, after the hunters had been taken into custody and the cafe had been secured, and Mistress Thornwood had been reassured with both an explanation and a generous compensation for damages, Theron found Brielle standing in the kitchen doorway, staring at the shattered remains of the front entrance. "I'll have it repaired by morning," he said quietly. "Better than before." "This was my home." Her voice cracked. "The only home I've had in 3 years." "I know." He moved closer, careful not to crowd her. "I'm sorry, I should have anticipated." "Don't." She turned to face him. "Don't apologize for protecting me, just—" She swallowed hard. "What happens now?" Theron reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, his hand cupped her cheek with a tenderness that made her chest ache. "Now I take you somewhere safe. Somewhere Dominic can never reach you. And tomorrow, or next week, or whenever you're ready, we talk about what kind of life you want to build." His thumb traced her cheekbone. "I won't force anything on you, Brielle. Not a bond, not a crown, not a future you didn't choose. But I want you to know that whatever you decide, I'll be there, as your protector, your partner, your friend, if that's all you want." His voice roughened. "Just let me be something. Please." Brielle looked at this man who had turned her world upside down in a single day. This king who had spent 3 years searching for her. This mate who had claimed her without claiming anything at all. She rose on her toes and pressed her lips to his. The kiss was soft at first, questioning. Then Theron made a sound low in his throat, and his arms wrapped around her, and suddenly there was nothing soft about it at all. He kissed her like a man who had been waiting his whole life for this moment. like she was air and he was drowning, like she was the answer to every question he'd ever asked. And Brielle kissed him back like she finally understood what home really meant. 3 months later, Brielle stood on the balcony of the royal palace and watched the sun set over her kingdom. Her kingdom. The words still felt strange, even after weeks of council meetings and diplomatic functions, and the quiet, earth-shaking ceremony where she had accepted the crown Theron offered her. Not as his queen consort, as his equal. Co-rulers bound by choice as much as fate. Arms wrapped around her from behind, and Theron's chin came to rest on her shoulder. "You're thinking too loud," he murmured against her ear. "I'm thinking about Mistress Thornwood." Brielle smiled. She sent another letter. "Apparently, the new manager I recommended is working out well, but she wants me to know that my lavender tea recipe is still the best in the city." Theron's chest rumbled with a laugh. "Should I be jealous that you're thinking about tea when I'm right here?" She turned in his arms, sliding her hands up his chest to link behind his neck. "You should be grateful I think about tea. It's going to make me very popular at diplomatic functions." "You're already popular at diplomatic functions." His eyes softened as he looked at her. "You're popular everywhere. The woman who sees people, the queen who remembers names and listens to problems and somehow convinces rival lords to compromise over scones. It's a gift. It's you." He pressed his forehead to hers. "Every day I wake up grateful that I walked into that cafe, that you told me the table was reserved, that you were brave enough to say my name." Brielle thought about the girl she'd been 3 years ago, terrified, alone, convinced that survival meant staying invisible. She thought about the woman she was now, a queen with a voice, a mate who loved her without condition, a purpose that stretched far beyond serving tea and keeping her head down. "Theron," she said softly. "Hmm? The table's still reserved, you know. I made Mistress Thornwood promise. Every Tuesday and Thursday at 4, table 7 belongs to us." His smile was like sunrise. "Does this mean you're going to keep dragging me to cafes for the rest of our lives? Someone has to make sure you eat something other than council sandwiches. I love you." The words still hit her like a physical force every time he said them. Probably always would. "I love you too." She pulled him down for a kiss. "Now come inside. We have a realm to run, and I just received a very interesting proposal from the northern provinces that I think you should hear." Theron groaned. "Can it wait until tomorrow?" It could. Brielle's lips curved against his. "But I also received a very interesting proposal from your wife that probably shouldn't wait." His eyes flashed gold. "Is that so?" She laughed and pulled away, walking backward toward their chambers with a challenge in her expression. Theron followed. He always would. "Where are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. I love hearing your thoughts. And if you'd like to support me, please subscribe. It's free, and it helps more people hear these stories."